In today's video, a Pro Series 3D printer from FLSun and a micro subwoofer project with some heavy bottom end. When FLSun offered to send me the new T1 Pro, my immediate reaction was that I'm quickly running out of places to put all these machines. That being said though, I'll be damned if I let finite space get in the way of a family evening putting together this 20-piece puzzle and... oh, we appear to have an attention whore. Coincidentally, given that her story is more profound than the two of us piecing this thing together, let me just set the scene. It is literally the last day of 2024, just ahead of the big snowstorm, 8 in the morning, and I get this motion alert at the front doorstep. Another one at 9, and by 10, Sophie is out there to investigate. This shivering thing torn between fear and self-preservation, no collar, no tags, no chip, and clearly in distress, quickly makes its way into a warm blanket, and after no one claimed her on the local animal control website, she received her vaccinations, and now the printer is fully assembled. The initial boot-up sequence is pretty uneventful: language, Wi-Fi, firmware. Afterwards, a 3D benchy complete with all the initial calibration, and in about 10 minutes time, we have a slightly saggy rendition, possibly due to the force of the air blowing down from the impeller fan. Otherwise, for a speed benchy, this seems okay enough. What's more, the machine fits neatly between the corner protectors of my studio subwoofer, which at nearly 200 pounds should make for a sturdy platform. Anyhow, let's get to the good stuff. Speaking of subwoofers, and I've been thinking about the progression of my Tangband W3 series projects, namely how the internals change as we introduce more piston area. With a single driver, the strategy was to build the counter pressure with virtually 100% acoustic inductance. With a pair of drivers, we moved to a dual stage bass reflex, and as the piston area increases, the Q of its resonant mode decreases, becoming easier to correct. Which also means that by the time we get to 3 drivers, we can solve for a linear extension with just a single stage bass reflex. Introducing the Trihexa, a miniature corner-loading subwoofer design with linear output down to 30 Hz. And as far as toy subwoofers are concerned, this one should be ideal amidst thin walls and neighbors, as it will perform like a proper subwoofer, simultaneously remaining volume limited by the hilariously tiny piston area. The 2 end caps are removable for convenient access to any internal electronics, even though I'm building mine as an externally powered unit. The 2 halves of the main body connect along the usual tongue and groove joint. There's also a brace to help keep things rigid, and for anyone looking to stand the thing up like a PlayStation, there's also the optional diffuser base. Finally, in terms of size, and in an effort to accommodate just about any FDM-style machine, the model fits within a modest 120 by 220mm footprint. So let me just load in some PETG and off we go, once again starting with a full bed leveling routine. The first layer shows promise, though I've also noticed some minor aberration further down the way. For the infill, I've gone with 50% gyroid, so that's what that looks like, and for all intents and purposes, the print is coming along just fine, albeit past a certain point you wouldn't know it by looking at the webcam. I'm guessing this is mostly just to check on the first few layers. Nevertheless, the thing chugs along for another 6 hours, at the end of which we cross the finish. This is followed by the other end cap, once again with a promising first layer and a reasonably quick finish, especially when you consider that this is all 50% gyroid guts with 4 perimeters all the way around. The finished piece looks proper from the underside, however, the top side appears a little choppy, to say nothing of the fact that we're missing the diffuser. As it turns out, however, this was the result of me slicing a step file, and I've since had better luck with tessellated models, as you can see in this reprint. The other end cap looks mostly as it should, save for these weird ridges along the base, and we'll keep an eye on that for later. Up next is the vent extension piece, and given the sheer span of the overhang, I'm inclined to use supports along those outer edges. Luckily, everything proceeds according to the G-code, and before too long we have a very nice rendition. This is where we switch to orange and fire off the brace pillar. Very easy, no problems, on to the first half of the enclosure. Once again, we have a good first layer, no lifting, no warping. We do, however, have these intermittent layer shift-like aberrations or perhaps even sporadic under extrusions that persist for a layer or two, and then somehow everything's back on track. The print finishes. Both halves do in fact, but not without these weird layer inconsistencies marring the otherwise smooth surface. What's more, if any of this goes deep enough to expose the infill, that is a potential air leak. Needless to say, this will have to be a reprint. Luckily, the nice thing about these high visibility orange enclosures is that they make for good target practice. Just as an interesting aside, PETG doesn't really shatter. Between a few slugs and some buckshot, it just sorta turns into Swiss cheese. Anyway, before I take these out to the range, let's also have a look at how well the T1 Pro handles supports, which, as it turns out, come off very nicely, even these little ones. And while the drivers fit like a glove from the cutaway perspective, I keep forgetting about this annoying thing that Tangband does where they extend the terminal housing past the mounting diameter, inadvertently forcing a larger cutout at the same time as I'm trying to leave the threaded insert something to grip onto. So that's a reprint now for two reasons, as I've also modified the cutouts with these notches for the terminals to clear, then twist into alignment. Finally, to address any filament quality related variables, I'm also changing out the $9 a roll PETG for this fancy high flow stuff courtesy of Bamboo Lab, which here recently I've also been using to make my parts bins. At any rate, the machine goes on to do its thing, once again with the first several layers showing promise. Here's a very clean looking infill pattern, and yeah, it's definitely not the filament. These intermittent layer hiccups must have something to do with the kinematics or perhaps even with the model itself, and to know for certain, I send the print off to a different machine only to watch it complete without any issues, so moving on. The woofers clear the notches, twist to align with the bolt pattern, and they even stay put, so yeah, we'll just use these. The next order of business is to get everything glued, and here's Sophie JB welding the vent extension. This is also where we add in the brace, and you can already see the difference just squeezing the two halves. So, with everything thoroughly slathered, the enclosure comes together. A couple of spacer blocks and a 25-pound weight just to make sure that it doesn't blow away. The following evening, we have a very sturdy piece all set for the threaded inserts to go around the sides and the front. Some binding posts for the vented end cap while everything is still easily accessible, a shallow depth of field shot of some armature with a soldering iron, and a gasket of reusable adhesive along that entire inner recess. Also, a tiny patch over here for the vent to press up against. A heavy-duty zip tie to hold it in place, and some M4x20 screws for the end cap. That comes together like so. The gasket is squished flat, forming an air seal, and the zip tie is zip-tied. Moving on to the drivers, with all these little pockets along the underside of the mounting ring definitely requiring some prep before being installed with 6 M4x8 screws each. Rinse and repeat across the way, and with the last driver in place, all that's left is to gasket the other end cap and seal the whole thing shut with 6 more M4x20 screws. To power it, I have this early 2000s era Class AB amplifier from Emotiva, delivering somewhere around 100 watts. The DSP is cleared out save for a 100Hz low-pass filter, and the sub goes into a corner, as that is also how I modeled it. The response is dead on. In fact, the only thing that I'm inclined to add is a 30Hz high-pass filter, and just to give the T1 Pro something else to do, here's the optional bass, which I have to say was kind of fun to separate from the supports. Now, we simply back out these 4 20mm screws and attach the bass with some 30mm screws. Finally, with all the microphones set up and Sophie seated at the bench, we commence with a demo. Alright, first thing we'll do is a palette cleanser. Actually, before we do the palette cleanser, can you see where the subwoofer is? It's all the way over there in the corner.
I can kind of see it from where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
Yes. All the way over there.
This is me properly corner loading it for the sake of the test.
Cool.
And anyway, go ahead and run the first track. That's probably good. Go ahead and stop it. flip that emotive amplifier on, the little button at the bottom. Looks like the relays have engaged, then just go through the list. Let me know what you think.
Cool. Noticeable at the start. That's nice. I like that. Vibrating the table already.
And from all the way over there?
Yeah. These weren't doing it.
I mentioned that it should be neighbor friendly, especially with thin walls, but I don't know.
Oh, look, and there's no actual roll off on it. That was cool.
Yeah, you should be able to hear all the way to the bottom. Yeah?
That's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes. And it's not like shaking the house as you would said neighbor friendly. Yes. This is great.
Things aren't really moving that much.
No, but I can still feel the vibration through my feet.
Door shaking. This will sort of arrive. Yeah, it gets down to low.
Oh, I'm so pleased.
Come over here to where this microphone's recording. How's that?
I'm surprised that the wall's not shaking more. Like, I can feel the vibration through the door.
Because the room is just full of bass.
Yeah. Even in the bathroom. Oh, this is so cool. And the speakers are only like this big.
Yeah? In fact. And then remove corner loading.
Okay. That definitely changes the effect. You can really tell the difference.
Yeah. Alright, cut it off since that's copyrighted.
Love.
Final verdict.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's only this big and weighs like 3 pounds. I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I'm really surprised the separation, you can actually tell the difference when it's sitting in the corner versus when you picked it up. That's the shocking difference. Right here.
That's what you were listening to.
Look at that.
You like the bass on it?
I do.
As in the physical bass rather than the bass
Yeah,
coming off
the
of
foot.
it.
Punny. I do. That's so cool. And they're only this big.
Yep. So, that's another freebie on printables if you're in the mood for some respectable bottom end at a reasonable volume. Anyhow, let me close with a few words about the T1 Pro. Right away, I will let it be up to you whether or not these weird artifacts amount to an issue. That aside, however, the machine has been quite reliable. I've observed no glitches in the user interface, consistently good first layers, all the models stuck to the build plate, nothing warped, nothing lifted, nothing outright failed. Out of the box, the machine has certainly performed a lot better than its S1 counterpart, although there is now an S1 Pro as well. Either way, big thanks go out to FLSun for all these cool triangular contraptions. Don't forget to chime in with your 2 cents about the demo, maybe even click some buttons, all the stuff I say at the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!